Happy New Year. Happy 2023. I'm Trish Regan. This is the Trish Regan Show. Portions today are brought to you by Legacy Precious Metals. There's never been a better time to invest in precious metals for the long haul than right now. So go to legacypminvestments.com for more. Again, legacypminvestments.com for more. We are also brought to you in part by Rough Greens. Rough Greens is the supplement that I actually feed my dog Fluffy. Watch the show on YouTube. You've seen Fluffy. Fluffy loves this stuff, and I love knowing that he gets all these vitamins, all these minerals, all these antioxidants, digestive enzymes, all the things that he needs to live a long and healthy life, created by Dr. Dennis Black, naturopathic doctor who cares so much about dogs' health that he has a special offer for friends of this program. You can get your free trial bag of Rough Greens if you go to roughgreens.com, R-U-F-F, roughgreens.com/Trish, don't forget my name, /Trish today. So I thought I might get into a few economic and political predictions as we look forward to 2023, which is now actually here upon us. And I think there's a couple big things that are out there glaring. Certainly on the international front, I would anticipate that things are going to become more and more problematic. I mean, you look at what China's doing there with Taiwan. Taiwan now saying, okay, everybody's going to be part of this mandatory military service. We have made efforts to get some of our semiconductor business out of Taiwan, which is important. You saw, of course, that Intel was relocating parts of its business to Ohio. This stuff has to be done if we want to protect our intellectual property, because I would think that China, while not as rash as Russia, is still inching towards a kind of crisis. And you're seeing this play out as well with the Biden administration now saying it does not want people from China coming in for fear of mutations in the coronavirus. 250 million people are said to have gotten the latest version of this virus there in China. And so now, because China recognizes the economic complications of having these rolling lockdowns, they're starting to ease some of that, and that allowance would afford many of these people to be able to travel worldwide. And that, of course, is concerning for other countries. All of this is contributing to a more antagonistic kind of relationship with China. I would expect that this year, in 2023, that will grow increasingly more antagonistic for some of the reasons I just described. The situation with Russia will continue to be a real source of conflict vis-a-vis Ukraine and vis-a-vis our involvement, of course, over there. From an investing perspective, all of this, of course, bodes well for the price of gold, which is one of the reasons why you saw a note that got a fair amount of attention this past week, predicting gold at 3,000. There was a commentator in Forbes that actually said he wouldn't be surprised to see it at $4,000 an ounce in 2023. Anyway, let me go back to the analyst from a bank out of Denmark that is making this prediction, Ole Hansen. He's saying that given what we've seen on the inflation front and the inability of central banks around the world to effectively calm it down, he thinks that that's going to actually have an effect on pushing gold further and further higher. He writes that in 2023, gold finally finds its footing after a challenging 22, in which many investors were left frustrated by its inability to rally even as inflation surged to a 40-year high. By the way, that has been kind of weird, right? Because you've got all this inflation, and yet gold has been kind of caught in a range that started to change as of late. And I talked about that in the show just the other day. But one of the confusing things has been, why could you have gold sort of stuck in a trading range when inflation is at a 40-year high? Well, part of the reason for that has been, well, you've got central banks tightening. And when central banks tighten, theoretically, that should actually reduce the number of dollars in the world, thereby bringing inflation under control, thereby acting as a hindrance on gold prices. But he said that's going to actually change because 2023, I'll quote, is the year that the market finally discovers that inflation is set to remain ablaze for the foreseeable future. I think that actually makes sense. I don't think, and you've heard me say this ad nauseum, that the Federal Reserve or any central bank for that matter is going to be able to contain this inflation in the way that they so desire. So we're going to keep kicking the can down the road, so to speak, while simultaneously having these international threats that are problematic and that will cause us to spend more money. You saw, of course, the $45 billion that we're committing there to Ukraine just the other day. All of this stuff costs money. So as we spend more and as we're unable to manage this inflation, that will cause additional inflationary pressures, thereby leading, I would think, to higher and higher gold prices. Now, quick reminder, I'm nobody's financial advisor here. I encourage you to do what you think is best for your portfolio. I only share with you my macro views on things, And one of my macro views is that inflation is going to persist. The world is becoming increasingly more precarious from the international political viewpoint. And all of these things should suggest that we're in more uncertain territory, which means people are going to keep looking for safe havens. The other safe haven, of course, would be Treasury bonds. And whether it be a 6-month or whether it be a 2-year, if you can lock up your money for that amount of time, that's one opportunity for you to actually get a guaranteed rate of return, which we haven't had in ages. I mean, I don't mean to get too excited about 4.5% on the 10-year, but hey, it's 4.5%. And we were looking at 1% for a long time, or even less than 1%. So I think that's kind of a big deal. The good news is you have more places to invest your money, more safe places to invest your money. So I think that's the positive side of 2023, even though the international picture is going to become more precarious. On the political front, we shall see, right? I mean, you have the Democrats doing everything they can to make sure that Donald Trump is out of the picture as far as the nomination goes for 2024. And we'll see whether they'll be successful in this. I do think that he's probably, so long as the Democrats don't put him in jail first, probably going to be the likely nominee for 2024. He has the support among the base, and I can't imagine Ron DeSantis saying, okay, I'm going to fight all of that, thereby losing all the political support in the future, because I think the thinking would be, okay, Donald Trump's going to run. He's not going to win. I think this is how Ron DeSantis might be playing it out in his head. And thus, I would be better positioned to wait. There are a lot of forces, however, that really want DeSantis or anybody, right? They're talking about Glenn Youngkin as well as a potential candidate. A lot of people that would really like to see somebody other than Trump, ABT, anyone but Trump win the nomination. So it will just be a question of how successful they are in basically preventing him from moving forward. Because I think if the election were held today, and I know we've seen some polls that suggest DeSantis could pull ahead, I still think it would be pretty challenging given that base support. So if it were held today, most likely Donald Trump would win. But hey, anything can change. And I do want to qualify this because it's very early still in the cycle. There's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of people that want to take him down, and they may indeed be successful at that. And if that's the case, then you're probably looking at Youngkin or DeSantis as the nominee for the Republican Party, both of whom should have a darn good shot at beating whoever the Democrats decide to put up. And right now it looks like it would be Joe Biden if he makes it that long. I don't mean to laugh, but he's definitely getting up there. The other alternative would be Kamala Harris. And I don't see how they don't give it to Kamala in the event that Joe Biden can't run, because it would upset a lot of women and it would upset a lot of African Americans if they bypassed her and say gave it to Pete Buttigieg, or if they bypassed her and gave it to Gavin Newsom. It would be really, really problematic in terms of them being able to say, this is what we stand for. And let's face it, I think as somebody who's a conservative, I would welcome that as good news, because I think she's a terrible candidate. I didn't always think this, by the way. I had a lot of high hopes for her initially. I had heard good things about her team. I thought, well, this is someone who's well educated. She really stands a shot, but I was quite mistaken. And she is perhaps one of the most disastrous candidates, I'd argue even far worse than Hillary Clinton, that we have seen come forward in the Democrat Party. So that's the good news for Republicans anyway. If Joe can't run and they run Kamala, I think it's pretty much a layup, because Republicans should be able to beat her pretty handily. The question really does come down to who's going to be the Republican nominee. Anyways, we look forward to 2023. I think it's going to be a challenging year economically. We're going to continue to be dealing with mass inflation. I think the Denmark analyst has a point. The Forbes contributor who wrote that he wouldn't be surprised to see it at 4,000 included some of the reasons I outlined to you earlier, coupled with the fact that China now, and I talked about this the other day, China has been buying up a lot of gold in ways that they haven't, certainly not since 2019. So if you see more and more foreign entities, as they grow more nervous about the world, going to non-dollar denominated assets, things like gold, then you'll also see some upward pressure on gold in that environment. Anyway, the most important thing for you as an individual and as an investor, I think, is really understanding with a realistic sensibility the challenges that are out there, the opportunities and the challenges. And you kind of just got to be able to cut through this noise. There's a lot of noise out there, and both political parties want you to believe something or think something. And the truth is, you just need to know what's really, really going on. So when I told you inflation was coming back in, August of 2020, I wasn't kidding. And I remember taking a little bit of heat at the time because people were like, hey, you got to be thoughtful about the pressures that people are facing, because this was still, when the economy was shut down, et cetera. And I said, look, yes, I get it. People are facing a lot of pressure right now. And what our government did, and I stand by this, was just so flat out wrong. We needed a strong economy to fight that thing. And to shut us down like they did was just, to me, sort of incomprehensible. You take care of those that need to be taken care of, but you allow the economy to still function for everyone else. So we got ourselves into this mess. We're still in this mess, and this mess isn't going away. In fact, I would suggest that we could be looking at a kind of lost decade, really. And so you need to be aware of these things. You need to be positioning your things, and it's a lost decade, not quite like we've seen in the past. This is a lost decade with runaway inflation factored in. That is my view. Again, I'm not your financial advisor. I have to always sort of qualify all of this, but I encourage you to just be thoughtful about understanding your own finances and making sure that you are prepared for the long haul. And there's lots of great ways to do that right now. You know who I always make sure is prepared for the long haul? That's my little dog, Fluffy. And again, if you have not met Fluffy, go over to my YouTube channel because you can see him there. This is just a wonderful, incredible dog. I mean, I know we all love our dogs. I definitely love my dog, and I am not afraid to say it. And this is the reason why I'm so happy to give him Dr. Dennis Black, naturopathic doctor, former Army Ranger, by the way, a guy who really cares about health. I am so happy to give him every single day as his supplement something called Rough Greens, RUFF, Rough Greens. You can get it at roughgreens.com/Trish, TRISH, my name, of course. This is how you get your free trial bag. For friends of the show, I worked out something with Dr. Black, and he's making sure that everyone who listens to this show, if you have a dog, you can get a free trial bag of Rough Greens. So go to roughgreens.com/Trish, TRISH, today. This is the way to start the new year off right for your puppy, for your big dog, whatever it may be. I have this dog, Fluffy, and he's 4 years old now, but to me, he's always going to be my puppy. So I call him Puppy, but take it with a grain of salt. Dr. Black, by the way, has these enormous dogs, these huge, I think they're German Shepherds. They are just these massive, beautiful dogs. And they also get their supplement every day. You don't have to change the food or anything. You just sprinkle it on top. If your dog doesn't like to eat, wow, you're going to see a whole new eating machine once they get Rough Greens. So go to roughgreens.com/Trish. Get your free supplement, your free trial bag today. I know you will not regret it. Your dog will certainly not regret you getting that. And listen, everyone, I want you to have a wonderful new year. This is the time to really start thinking about your future, to start planning the things in life that matter the most: our health, our families, our financial security. It's the reason why I keep hitting on these issues over and over and over again. I know it's fun to look at the political arena, and we do that, but you need to understand it within the context of what's really going on in the world and how it's going to affect your finances, because ultimately that's what matters to you and your family, your health and your finances. These are critical moments for all of us. So thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to having a wonderful 2023 with you right here. I appreciate you as a listener, and I am so excited for all the great things that are coming our way in 2023. By the way, if you haven't, go and sign up for my newsletter because we have all kinds of special offers, free things for you there. Go to TrishIntel, INTEL.com. Again, it's TrishIntel.com, and I'll see you tomorrow. Happy New Year.